Well, the federal government is insisting an independent observer must be allowed to travel with a live export ship before the boat is permitted to leave Australia. A shipment of sheep from Emmanuel Exports could be blocked from leaving Fremantle Port on Monday unless the exporter meets animal welfare requirements.
In August last year, around 2,500 sheep died of heat stress while on an Emmanuel exporter. For more on this and other stories of the week, from Brisbane, we're talking with Liberal Senator for Queensland, Amanda Stoker, and here in Sydney, Labor MP Emma Hassar. Welcome to both of you.
Welcome.
Good morning.
Amanda, let me start with you, and congratulations having made it to the Senate. What do you hope to achieve now you're a senator?
I hope to be a strong voice for all of Queensland, a voice of common sense, and I hope to contribute across a range of policy areas in the party room.
And the fact that you're another woman in Parliament, so that must make a huge difference as well?
I think it's really important that we have strong women's voices in the party room so that we can make sure that we're representing all of the people in the community who depend upon us for quality policy.
All right, let's get into this news about the live exports this week. That ship leaving Fremantle Port from Emmanuel Exports, it could be blocked unless these conditions are met. Is that the right course of action, Emma?
Look, I think when we were in government, we had someone in charge. We had a commissioner in charge of live exports. The shocking thing is that, and the reality is that when Barnaby Joyce came into office, they got rid of that position. We were quite satisfied that they were the right protections to put in place for live exports and making sure that the industry was regulated and doing the right thing. So it's disappointing to see these reports of August of last year, and in fact the investigation that was done cleared them of any wrongdoing, which means that we've got one of two problems. Either the regulations aren't right or we're not investigating them or asking the right questions. So I'm encouraged that there has been some concern and some action or some steps, I guess, from the government. And we've said, and Joel Fitzgibbon certainly has said, that we're happy to work with the government to address these issues.
Amanda, we were speaking with Fiona Simpson from the National Farmers Federation a short time ago. She's saying, look, it's to be expected that some animals will die regardless. Is that acceptable?
Look, I think that everyone in the community is concerned about the welfare of livestock that travel through the live cattle trade. And I think the community at large would be reassured to know that of the 100 or so countries that are involved in the live cattle trade, Australia's got the highest standards of them all. We're the only country that requires the World Organisation for Animal Health standards to be met. So we've got high standards, but as I understand it, the ship that was involved in the footage, which I haven't seen, was dealing with the middle of the Middle Eastern summer. Those conditions aren't there anymore. But we do need to be doing all we can to make sure that the livestock that farmers love and invest so much in can make it to their destination safely and healthily.
Amanda, do we need to be doing more to ensure that?
Well, I think the investigation that the Minister has begun into what went wrong on that voyage is a really good start. And if more needs to be done, I'm sure that will be the product of that investigation.
Emma, lessons to be learned from the last time this happened, certainly when Labor was in government, shut down live exports to Indonesia. That caused a lot of problems. What lessons have been learned from that?
Look, we went to the last election with a 6-point policy plan on what we would do for live exports and for animal welfare. We're still committed to that plan. We're still committed to having the Director General in charge of live exports and animal welfare, and we will continue that if we are elected to government. And we're happy to work with the other side to get this right.
Amanda, are you confident that this issue with the sheep is an isolated incident?
Look, I think the investigation will reveal whether or not that's the case. I certainly hope that it is. But no matter what, we need to avoid a return to the situation that occurred in 2011, where the industry was decimated overnight by knee-jerk policy reactions. We need to have balance here. We need to consider the matters carefully and in a prudent way so that we aren't absolutely gutting the rural communities that depend on this trade, whilst we're still making sure we treat the animals humanely.
Let's move on to another issue. The Privacy Commissioner has launched an investigation into Facebook in the wake of that data scandal. Do you welcome that investigation?
I think that everyone has a right to their privacy and they have a right to know where their data's going. We all I guess at some stage accept that what is going online is outside of our control. And I think it's important that the policies that are developed ensure that people are really aware of what's happening. No one's reading through a 17-page document when they upload things to Facebook or any social media platform, in fact. I'm a big consumer. We're pleased that it's being investigated, and I think that if anything, it should send a signal to Malcolm Turnbull that he releases his new data policy.
Amanda, there have been calls for greater regulation. Is that called for as far as you're concerned?
Look, I think all social media users need to be smart about this. They need to exercise caution whenever they decide to share personal information with the world, because they don't know where it's going to be ending up. But there's a saying that if you are using a product and you're not paying for a product, then you are the product. And if you're sharing information online, I think it's really important as individuals we take responsibility for what we put out there and where it might end up.
Sorry, I was just going to say that's true, but in this day and age, it's pretty unavoidable, isn't it? You need to be online to conduct your life, certainly as far as paying bills and the like. So, is that fair that, as you say, you've got to pay for it, otherwise you become the product? Given we have to participate in this, should there not be greater controls?
I think there's a world of difference between paying your bills online and deciding to share personal information, personal views via social media. That, I think, is in the realm of the optional. It's in the realm of the social, and when we do that, we need to be aware that we're putting it at a point where that information is beyond our own control.
Emma, this is a rapidly changing space. Are we keeping up
No,
with
we're
the
not.
change?
Absolutely not. We're still waiting for this government to release its data protection policies or regime that will give our citizens greater protection and greater security in that knowledge. We've been waiting on it for quite some time now, and I think if anything this sends a very clear signal, because community expectations are that people are protected, and we have a government that is not exactly working in the best interest because they're busy doing other things in their own party room and looking after themselves and each other and fighting against themselves and each other to avoid doing any of the heavy lifting on this stuff. So no, I don't think that we're doing enough.
Okay, certainly a lot more to run on that issue. Amanda, just to a topic that I know that you wanted to raise, fairly controversial as far as Israel Folau, the member of the Wallabies, of course, with his anti-gay comments that have raised alarm, certainly as far as Qantas are concerned, Qantas being the sponsors of the Wallabies. What do you make of this? Should the Wallabies intervene and perhaps reprimand Israel Folau?
Look, I think it's pretty hypocritical for the entire ARU to be penalised for the views of one player expressed in a private capacity just because they don't align with the CEO of Qantas's. But particularly in circumstances where Qantas doesn't make moral judgments about other things, they're happy to do deals with Emirates, which is run by a government that routinely penalises gay people, treats women really badly. They shouldn't really be picking and choosing in the social realm, in my view. I'd much prefer that Qantas focused on its core business and, in particular, making sure that there are fairly priced and available fares for regional Queenslanders to get home. They should stick to their core business and stop trying to, I think, use their power as an employer and as a sponsor to control people's freedom of speech.
Yeah,
Emma,
what's your view on that?
Look, Israel Folau's entitled to his homophobic views, and Qantas is entitled to take their sponsorship and put it wherever they please. I think that this is a debate this country has now had. When you are putting out on your social media, when you are, someone that holds some sort of social authority, and you have people who look up to you and admire what you do, that gay people should go to hell. It's quite absurd to think that we would accept that. And I think that Qantas has taken a view that bullying is unacceptable. This is a form of bullying, and the standard you walk past is the standard that you accept. So Qantas has made a business decision. They will continue to make those business decisions, and if people that they associate themselves with don't accord or align with their values that they espouse or that they want to promote, then fair call.
Amanda, does Israel Folau have a responsibility as an elite sports person not to make these comments, and should he be pulled up for them?
Look, I think most people should stick to their knitting, but if there's a deeply held view, whether it's on the part of the CEO of Qantas or a prominent football player and it's expressed in a private capacity, then they shouldn't face sanctions in their work because they hold a view that is or isn't shared by other members of the community. I mean, it's fundamental to who we are as a country that we should be able to have a debate, sometimes agree to disagree, but then politely be able to get on with our work, our community activities and so forth.
There's nothing polite about saying that if you are gay that you should go to hell unless you repent for your sins. I'm sorry, but that is absolutely not a polite thing to say.
Well, I think that everybody should be able to, you know, politely hold their views and be able to go from there and get on with what they need to do.
All right.
I mean, these debates are important because if people aren't able to express controversial or different ideas, then we confine the range of public thought, and that's bad for all of us.
Well, we're just about out of time, but Emma, before we go, I know you did want to mention World Autism Awareness Day.
Yep. So it's lighted up Blue Month. So we have houses decorated all around the country with blue lights, and I noticed that we've got some blue in here too. So that's fabulous. I didn't dress accordingly today, but Autism Awareness Australia held a fabulous event at the Opera House this year.
Yep.
Unfortunately, the day fell over the Easter long weekend, but there were a range of great speakers from all around the world, encouraging people to be a more accepting society and accept more diversity and accept that everybody's not the same. So to everybody that is affected by autism, loves someone with autism, and the civilians, who we refer to them who don't, happy World Autism Awareness Day and month, and may the advocacy and awareness continue.
All right, Emma Hassar, Amanda Stoker, thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot.